This might sound naive, but any entity we run into out there that doesn't immediately try to eat us or drive us insane is a win in my book. We need to learn all we can, scrutinize every word the envoy says. The fate of the world may one day hinge upon it. You've driven away the Maven for the moment, but the envoy is still around. That's not a good sign. I assumed it served her, but if that isn't true, then we may soon have a bigger problem on our hands. Never trust floating women. I learned that the hard way from my second campaign, and the less said about that, the better. If the Maven is trying to communicate with you, learn what you can, but don't let your guard down, even for a moment. I've told you the job never ends, haven't I? We'll track down the Conquerors, we'll face Cirrus, and then we'll figure out the mystery of this Maven entity as well. After that, we'll have a drink. And then we'll get right back to it when the next enemy of mankind appears. That's what I've signed up for, and that's what we'll do. After all that, the Maven turns out to be a young eldritch entity. I've seen many terrible things in my time, but this... I should be relieved. Instead, I'm filled with apprehension. If that was a child, then what kind of powers do her elders possess? What happens when those cosmic fiends finally turn their countless eyes in our direction? We are on a very dark path, Exile. You saw Baron? How is that possible if you slew him? Unless it's the Maven. It has to be. She's been recreating other powerful creatures of the Atlas for her own amusement. Of course she would do the same to my brother, given his notable strength. None of the creatures out there can challenge him either, which means the Maven is resurrecting him to watch his fights with you. And the Atlas is already the perfect battleground for such a show. Keep her entertained, Exile. It will give us more time to learn about her. If we can play this right, then perhaps Baron can be saved after all. I was right. The Maven is capable of resurrecting Baron, and has been doing so to suit her whims. If she is the reason he cannot find peace, then we must either slay her or convince her to let him go. In either case, we have a very long campaign ahead of us. Stay the course, Exile. You taught the Maven a lesson, but she has not been defeated, if we can ever truly defeat an entity like her. I'm not even certain we can communicate with her on a meaningful level, but I have to maintain hope. Keep playing her games, Exile. Maybe one day she will recognize you as a peer, and then perhaps we can ask her to give Baron back to us. Caecilius tells me that Cirrus is on the verge of completing a map device. We should have counted on this happening once we prevented the Conquerors from interfering with each other. The device's growing energy has given away the location of a secret citadel hidden within a tremendous storm. Caecilius can get us inside, and, from tracking your encounters with Cirrus, I happen to know he isn't currently there. If we can get to his map device and destroy it before he can use it, we might just finish this before it begins. The world is at stake once again. Danger be damned, we're both going with you. If this is the last time we speak, it has been an honor. Cirrus lives. I would imagine Caecilius is overjoyed, unless he's as mad as the rest of the Conquerors. I'll keep track of your encounters with him. Maybe we'll be able to figure out where he's been hiding. If my brother spent his last words warning us against Cirrus, then he must truly pose a tremendous threat. I hadn't even considered what his storms could do to mankind if they were ravaging Rayclass, instead of the Atlas. There's something happening to the Atlas, Exile. When you socketed the fourth watchstone in a citadel, something responded. A storm on the horizon, a creek becomes a river. I'm not a man of metaphor, but I don't know how else to describe the crackling feeling of power on the wind. If the Atlas is a sleeping giant, our unknown force out there is slowly waking it. While you've been tracking the Conquerors, I've continually noticed swathes of devastation left by a force unknown. The land reshapes and awakens with riotous power afterwards, so I thought it might simply be a property of the Atlas. But now I see there's a pattern, a storm. There's a storm somewhere out there, massive beyond anything we've ever seen, and roaring with enough force to disintegrate anything in its path. That storm, I bet my eye will find our enigmatic awakener right at the center. Was he an evil man? I think on it when I'm trying to sleep at night, because it seems the wound he gave me will never fully heal. It itches like rabid mudflies. Damn latent disintegration eating away at me about the same speed as the skin naturally grows back. Oh, it's serious. I can't imagine being abandoned in darkness for a subjective eternity. I also can't imagine becoming so hollow that I would attack people I loved. I suppose in the end, it doesn't matter. We did what we had to do, and we will again, when the time comes. He's loyal, but unsuitable for duty, for obvious reasons. Sometimes wish I had a hat with a light on it myself. I tend to stumble in the night on the way to the latrine. But perhaps it's best I not risk my one good eye with an open flame. Navali is dead, as I understand it, or somewhere between life and death. I asked her if Hinakora could save Baron by doing the same for him, and Navali. She spoke with anger for the first and only time I've ever heard. One word. Fool! It never occurred to me that her endless living death might be painful. That one's a bottled-up flask of rage if I've ever seen it. I've known some good men who've suffered the same. When certain things happen to a soldier on the campaign trail, he returns home changed. Civilians will never understand. Let her work through her pain and revenge before we ask her to help us with the conquerors. Never trusted a blackguard in my life, reformed or not. Never have, never will. That bastard Gravicius and his psychotic disciple Chimera. But I suppose I shouldn't blame Helena for that. Just rankles me that he's still got my eye. Being a tracker myself, I'm no stranger to the hunt, but he embodies the hunt, and nothing else. I tried to ask for his aid in chasing down the conquerors, but it was impossible to get a straight answer out of him. I was given the distinct impression that he encounters them regularly while cavorting out in the wilds. He thinks, very highly of each of them, even Cirrus. I can't imagine what the two of them would even say to each other. She's beautiful. I'm one-eyed, not blind, but she's far too intense. I worked with her once before, tangentially, when on a campaign for the Templars. Not that she'd remember. Too wrapped up in her god and her work. We soldiers did the dying, and she gave the credit to the divine. Wish I could get her damn songs out of my head. The trail has gone cold, Exile. The conquerors seek the watchstones, but we've defended certain territories too well. Try placing a few watchstones in regions we've investigated less thoroughly to draw them out. Use their agenda against them. In order to draw out our quarry, we need to tempt them with bait. The conquerors seek the watchstones, so let's give them the opportunity to get what they want. Place a few watchstones in an open citadel to draw their attention. When they leave hiding, we'll pick up their trails. We don't know much about that region yet, Exile. Let's do some exploration. We're going to need at least one watchstone in that region's citadel to draw out a conqueror. They're wary of us. We're going to need at least 2 watchstones in that region's citadel to draw out a conqueror. They've caught onto the hunt. We're going to need at least 3 watchstones in that region's citadel to tempt one of the conquerors out of hiding. They know it's a fight to the death now, Exile. We're going to need at least 4 watchstones in that region's citadel to force them to make a move. I've seen hints of a trail in Lex Proxima. A gut feeling tells me we should search Tian's End. We probably need to investigate Glennock Cairns. Caesarius might not like this, but we're going to need to tread through Valdo's Rest. Lexajoris has shown signs of enemy activity. Ewick Hamlet seems to be playing host to our quarry. New Vastia's routes have been recently travelled by someone other than us. Lyra Arthane is a refuge for a conqueror. I'm certain of it. Kirac's my name. Tracker and officer in Oriath's new citizen vanguard. We're the front line, ensuring the likes of Kitava and Innocence never blindside us again. The Templar kept the true nature of the world hidden from the populace, but now the roe's out of the sack, and we'll keep both eyes open. Or the one eye open, in my case. I'll come right out with it, Godslayer. I have a problem, and you may be the only one that can help. My younger brother, Baron, fell in with a radical by the name of Zana Kaiserius some time ago. She's a bit of a famous one in certain parts. Many who have worked with her have ended up 2 pews short of a congregation, ranting and raving on street corners or accosting random citizens. You can see the cause for my concern. I've reason to believe she was working out of an old Templar laboratory off the square. Head there with me now. Baron sent me letters. He wrote that he was embarking on an exposition with Kaiserius and several skilled exiles. Kitava's temper tantrum kept me from Oriath, but my brother should have long since returned by now. I know that searching for one man's brother is an inconsequential task for a Godslayer, but I have a bad feeling about this. By the muscular golden arse of Innocence! What was that? My brother spoke of a device like that in his letters. He said they used it to open passage to distant lands, whatever that means. However it works, it's clearly dangerous if it can explode in such a manner. We must do our work somewhere away from civilians. I'm going to requisition a team of tinkerers and engineers. Using the notes in this laboratory, we can construct a similar device. Your hideout will do nicely as a base of operations. Yes, I know where it is. I came up the ranks as a tracker, mind you. Rumor has it, this was built by order of a previous High Templar, the name of Venarius. If the impossible components we need are anywhere in our mortal realm, they would be in the Vault of Venarius, in the Reliquary. We're going to need to find the key to that vault. Dominus was the next High Templar, and thus the one who declared his predecessors' pursuits heretical and had them sealed as blasphemous. A load of manure to secure the secrets for himself, no doubt. A man like him would have kept the key close. My gut tells me it's likely in his old office in the Templar courts. Let's head there. The courts haven't been secured yet. Be ready for a tussle. The abominations left in Kitava's wake have gone slack-jawed since his destruction, but they're still prone to fly into rages if provoked. Search and destroy, men! We'll clear a path! There's the office of the man himself. Search his desk. That's what we need. Let's head to the Reliquary on the other side of Oriath Square. No sense in visiting the vault without the key from Dominus's private office in the courts. The Vault of Venarius has been sealed for years. There's no telling what might be inside. I'll stand on this one. You stand on the other, Exile. There's a haunting odor in the air. Be wary. Men, kill everything that moves, except us. Hurts my eye just to look at. Those are definitely what we're looking for. Angles that don't make sense. Shapes that shouldn't exist. And corners to trap the sight. Let's install these in the device and see what happens. Meet me in your hideout, Exile. I think I can put the pieces together by following the plans we found. Careful now. This should either work perfectly or explode. Based on what we've seen, you might even do both. I've got my best engineer following the plans we found. Careful now. This should either work perfectly or explode. Based on what we've seen, it might even do both. The device seems stable now, though I've no inkling where its portals may lead. My instinct as a tracker usually gives me some sense of direction, but I just feel lightheaded when I think about it. Baron's last letter included a small, crudely hewn stone map so that I might follow him if anything happened. The carvings didn't make sense at the time, but now I understand. Put this map in the machine. Somehow I'm certain it's our destination. I'm unfamiliar with this terrain. I can't get a sense of where on Ray class we might be. If we're on another continent, it's not one I've heard of, even in old Brinerot tales. Kaiserius is a skilled cartographer, but she hasn't got martial understanding of the terrain. If I was looking to build a fortress, I know where I'd place it. I've marked it on your atlas. Kaiserius might be able to get you there. Judging by the trail of our quarry, I'd wager on a stronghold. There, I've marked it on your atlas. Caesarius might be able to get you there. I found a specialized map in the Templar laboratory near the old device. I believe we can fill it out to keep track of our progress.
My brother may be lost, but I'll see this through to the end, in memory of him. Zana!
Leave me! Oriath needs you.
I've got him! Oh, no, you don't! You're not getting away! Now, Zana! Now!
If Caesarius is still alive, I'll track her down, and I'll deliver her in chains for judgment. It's not for me to decide whether skulking around Oriath with mystical technologies that explode is a crime worthy of prison. The new citizen magistrates will handle that. I intended to bring Caesarius to the magistrates, but it sounds like Baron is in real trouble. It runs at odds with my position in the citizen vanguard, but I think I've earned some discretion. We should work with her until we rescue my brother. Caesarius has a good head on her shoulders. I'm starting to think her reputation as a radical is unearned. By all accounts, regarding this elder creature she and her exiles defeated, she may have done Rayclass disservice, and nobody's the wiser. Of course, that opinion hinges on whether they're telling the truth, and whether my brother can be saved. In my heart, I do blame her for what happened to Baron. If he was simply dead, that would be one thing. But he's out there suffering eternal madness because of her. I can't deny that bitterness. However, duty calls. The people we've got are it. If we try to explain all this to the citizen magistrates, Caesarius will be locked up for her associations with criminals, and we'd all be thrown in an asylum for our wild tales. We must face this serious together, all grievances aside. I'll keep my own counsel on the topic of Zana, thank you. Oh, Caesarius, rather. However, it seems someone reported to the magistrates that she's innocent of all her supposed underhanded activities. Funny that. I knew I should have dropped everything and come back when he first wrote to me that he'd fallen in with that radical. We'll find him, set this right. He's in trouble, but he's got us looking out for him. Use my skills. With my help, you can track him down in no time. You actually saw my brother. He's alive. Then finding his sanctuary is our next move. It sounds like he's a bit out of sorts. Let's continue to pursue him. I just know that he can be saved, Exile. So that's it then. Baron can't be saved. Caesarius, did she understand the costs? Did she know the fate she was consigning my brother to? I've no small bitterness over how far she went to try to save her father, yet here we are, abandoning my brother to eternal madness. There's nothing to be done about it, but it still burns. Even after all that's happened, I find myself unable to move on. Keep pursuing Baron, Exile. Let's keep trying to save him. We won't fall into the same madness either, because I'll stay out here in the real world. I'm the one with the desire, and you're the one with the strength. If we keep the two separate, the Atlas can't trap us. And one day, we'll find a way to save him. Seems enough was enough. The Vanguard undertook the largest evacuation in history, hundreds of ships, and Oriath has been abandoned. After the domination of the Templar, then the crackdown under Innocence, then the slaughter at Kitava's hands, and finally the ruination by Cirrus. It's clear our little island is no place for men to live. Even cursed, one could say, though we are not entirely blameless for those disasters. No small irony that the Oriathan people now depend upon the Karui we once enslaved. I always said that if you kick a rower in the arse, one day it'll kick you in the head. But I underestimated the honor of our new hosts. They're different after the death of their gods, and we are too, after the departure of ours. I wasn't a believer, but I can feel it. We're on our own now. We're going to have to work together to face what comes next. Some say the Citizen Vanguard failed in its mission, but I say we succeeded, and wildly so. Oriath may have been ruined, but its people will live on, because you and I were out there in the wild unknown facing dangers that would have destroyed all of Rayclass otherwise. Life in the Karui archipelago will be tough, but we've been through worse many times over. We'll be all right.
Got to be what we're looking for. One good eye is all I need. One good eye is all I need. For Oriath! For Oriath! Not in my city! Not in my city! Abominations! Abominations!
The job never ends. The job never ends. Got my eye on you. Got my eye on you. Stay vigilant. Stay vigilant. Godslayer? Godslayer. Godslayer. Hey. Long day. Long day. Long day. How's the trail? How's the trail? How's the trail? Ah, Godslayer. Kirac's my name. Commander of the Citizen Vanguard. We're the front line, ensuring callous gods and bloodthirsty fiends never blindside us again. The Templars kept the true nature of the world hidden from the populace, but now the rower's out of the sack, and we'll keep both eyes open. Or the one eye open, in my case. We've a vital mission for you, Godslayer. Well, you're not going to believe me until you see this for yourself. Take this map and put it in one of the map devices below. It will take you to a realm we call the Atlas. Once you see the world on the other side and have yourself a battle or two, we'll talk. Now that you've had a glimpse of the Atlas, our mission might make more sense. There's a whole uncharted realm out there, countless regions just like the one you explored, full of strange creatures and ancient threats. Nobody knows exactly what the Atlas is, but I can tell you my personal experience, danger, death, and loss. We've been doing our best to explore its deeper reaches, but too many good men have died. We're out of our depth. That's why we need you. Keep exploring the Atlas. Look for anything we can use to defend Rayclast. Believe me, we're going to need it against the coming darkness. You encountered the envoy? This is exactly what I was hoping for. He's an enigmatic being, but he never strays far from his ward. He serves and guards the being called the Maven. And she is the true reason I've asked you to work with us. She is a horrific abomination of a similar kind to the ones that are on their way. You might think I'm crazy for seeking her on purpose, but she may be the only one who can help us. You'll understand when, and if, you find her. Something dark is coming, Godslayer. Time is short. Keep exploring the Atlas, where the envoy resides. The Maven cannot be far. You found the Maven! Then perhaps we have a chance after all. Do your best to win her over. She's drawn to conflict. The bloodier, the better. Try working your way deeper into the Atlas. Entertain her with combat. She might just aid her favorite toy when the time comes. After all this time, all this dread and waiting, they're finally here. This is it, Godslayer. A struggle for the fate of Rayclast. From what I can gather, the Atlas is a tempting treasure that keeps these creatures occupied. So long as we wage war in the Outer Realms, Rayclast is safe. Should we lose the Atlas to their control, it will only be a matter of time until they take notice of us. We are nothing to them. And that is our greatest opportunity. Aid the Maven. Pit these entities against each other. It may be our only chance. So the Maven has given you a tool to begin hunting the Tangle. I knew finding her was our best shot at facing these abominations. Attack it on her behalf, and we can begin setting them against each other. With this new piece of equipment, we can hunt the Cleansing Fire's footholds on the Atlas. Attack them on her behalf, and we can set them up to fight each other instead of us. My engineers have looked at that key. It's some sort of purposeful invitation, almost ceremonial in design. If you put this in the map device, it will open the way to somewhere far beyond the Atlas. It's about time we went on the offensive. Prepare yourself for a bit of a tussle. This key glows brighter in proximity to the map device, as if it's trying to tell us it wants to be used. It will take you beyond the Atlas itself, to some unknown place in the celestial realm. Rather than defending known lands, this will be an offensive mission into enemy territory. Wherever it leads, Be ready for a skirmish. Our best researchers believe you've just won some sort of ritual for control of the Atlas against the Tangle. Defeating the infinite hunger is just one stage of the conflict, however. It can never be simple, can it? Keep up the pursuit, Godslayer. There's something much worse out there, readying itself. Our strategists believe that by defeating the Black Star, you've strengthened the Maven's claim on the Atlas. No cause for celebration just yet, though. This is far from over. By all accounts, there's something far more deadly ahead. Be ready, Godslayer. This is it, Godslayer. That key is an invitation to face the Tangle's primary champion in some far-off realm. The enemy is expecting you, so stay wary. That key is not a mechanism, nor a map. It appears to be an invitation. Brace yourself for battle. The Cleansing Fire's champion will be ready for you. You've given the Tangle's champion a beating. But this was only one part of some ritual of ownership between eldritch entities. You've solidified the Maven's hold on the Atlas, but I doubt this is the end of the conflict. Stay wary. I'm glad you survived your battle with the Cleansing Fire's emissary, but I suspect this is hardly the end of the Maven's battle for ownership of the Atlas. Keep fighting as her champion, Godslayer. She's the best of our terrible options. By the gods! You actually did it! You did battle with those eldritch fiends and lived to tell the tale. You bought us some time, Godslayer. For the moment, the Maven has full control of the Atlas, and she's content to play there and leave us alone. Keep doing what you're doing. Very carefully. Quite a bit has happened in the Atlas already. Suffice it to say, we have it on ominous authority that some unknown they are coming. Judging by the one who gave us that warning, all of Wraeclast would be in jeopardy should they take notice of us. It's best for everyone if we draw a hard line in the sand across the Atlas and keep them busy there instead. Families. These courageous men and women have families. That's the difference between them and a traditional military. No disrespect to my old comrades in arms, but this organization is not comprised of solitary, violent-minded young men. The Citizen Vanguard is a volunteer effort filled with the ranks of ordinary people who are tired of the endless parade of doom and nightmare we call Wraeclast. I said we'd all have to work together to face what's coming. And that's exactly what we're doing. The Atlas is a grave threat to mankind. A realm unlike any we've seen. It offers up your wildest desires, urging you ever onward into madness and danger, and yet it may be our greatest defense as well. The Atlas draws the attention of eldritch creatures that would otherwise destroy us without a second thought. It's too dangerous to interact with, but too valuable to be left alone. You can see the position that leaves us in. We used to have the Atlas fully mapped, but it changes, it grows. After recent major events, it completely changed form. We started from scratch at a moment we can ill afford to be blinded. The more you explore the Atlas, the better our chances of survival. The map device will transport you to a land unlike any other. We call that land the Atlas, a formidable, uncharted territory which harbors the greatest dangers man has ever seen. The device itself, or the devices, rather, since we've managed to acquire 3, have a rather long and storied history, as our resident archaeologist, Helena, might know more about that kind of thing. He's a strange one. Takes the form of a man. Poorly. I'm not sure what to make of him. He's prone to cryptic speeches, but every word he says has meaning. I suggest you listen closely. We need as much information as we can get if we're going to survive this. The Maven is a powerful entity with a penchant for forcing combatants to fight to the death. Then she resurrects them to do it all again, over and over. Oh, she's tortured more than a few of my men and added them to her collection. My own brother included. A previous exile worked with her on our behalf, catching her interest for a time. That didn't last. Don't let her make you part of her collection. My brother, Baron, was one of the Elder Slayers. I'm immensely proud of him for that. But the toll of that victory was too high. It cost him his sanity. In my first campaign in the Atlas, I worked with an exile who was forced to slay him. It couldn't have ended any other way. I thought that would be the end of it, but the Maven collected Baron and keeps resurrecting him for her sick games. When all this is through, there will be a reckoning with that creature. Mark my words. The Elder is the reason we're all in this mess. From what I'm told, it preyed upon humanity for thousands of years, eating memories and shriveling bodies. That I can't vouch for, but I do know that other entities like it have noticed its sudden absence. We can ill afford that kind of attention. In defeating the Elder Slayers may have doomed us all. They were not the first to find the Atlas, but they may have been the most impactful. They worked with a woman named Zana Kaiserius to seal away an entity called the Elder that dominated that realm, and that victory cost most of them their sanity. Not long after, I worked with Zana and a powerful exile to defeat the mad Elder Slayers, who by then fancied themselves conquerors. Unfortunately, we were too slow, and the leader of the Elder Slayers, Cirrus, escaped from the Atlas and devastated Oriath's rebuilding efforts. Talk about kicking us while we're down. You've not seen tragedy until you've seen former comrades forced into killing one another by circumstance. Cirrus could have been our salvation against the coming darkness, had he not been consumed by his own. The powerful exile I was working with at the time gave his life to deal Cirrus a near-lethal wound, and then 800 of the Vanguard died finishing the bloody job. I myself earned an injury that will never fully heal. And Zana, well, often the heart suffers deeper cuts than the body. That was the last time any of us worked with her. You've not seen tragedy until you've seen former comrades forced into killing one another by circumstance. Cirrus could have been our salvation against the coming darkness, had he not been consumed by his own. The powerful exile I was working with at the time gave her life to deal Cirrus a near-lethal wound, and then 800 of the Vanguard died finishing the bloody job. I myself earned an injury that will never fully heal. And Zana, well, often the heart suffers deeper cuts than the body. That was the last time any of us worked with her. It's clear our little island is no place for men to live. Even cursed, one could say. Though we are not entirely blameless for those disasters, we thought Kitava's rampage was bad enough. Let alone the domination by the Templars and the crackdown under innocents. But Oriath was attacked yet again while you were gone. The rebuilding efforts were all for nothing. The Vanguard undertook the largest evacuation in history, hundreds of ships, and Oriath has been abandoned. No small irony that the Oriathan people now depend upon the Karui we once enslaved. I always said that if you kick a rower in the butt, one day it'll kick you in the head. But I underestimated the honor of our new hosts. They're different after the death of their gods, and we are too after the departure of ours. I wasn't a believer, but I can feel it. We're on our own. We're going to have to work together to face what comes next. She's got a long and storied tale involving the Atlas and her father, but you'll have to ask someone else about that. I'm not one for gossip. All I'll say, our campaign in the Atlas resulted in the death of a man she loved. She seemed filled with despair after that. And then that sadness became anger. I know what a desire for vengeance looks like, Godslayer. Someone's going to get what's coming to them. I once swore I'd never trust a blackguard in my life, reformed or not. I've had to begrudgingly rethink that notion. Helen has been crucial in putting together the pieces of Rayclass's ominous and ancient history. Everything we face today has its roots in the evils of the past. You're not the first exile we've worked with. Rayclass seems to be a crucible for forging powerful men and women. Unfortunately, ambition is a critical vulnerability in the Atlas. We've got a few rogues running rampant, so watch your back. During a recent retreat, we were forced to leave behind some supplies. Most won't be missed, but there's at least one map in the area. You might find it useful, so keep an eye out. One of our scouts noticed a very unusual item in the area you'll be exploring. Details were sparse. We've never seen anything like it. Might be of use to you if you find it. One of our technicians has detected a divination card in the region in question. Don't ask me how they figure these things out. I'm not one for technological babble. I just knew you'd want to get your hands on that card. We've spotted an ancient Val fragment in this map. Hard to say how it got from Rayclass to the Atlas, but I suspect it's worth tracking down. I've received a report of a mysterious gauntlet full of deadly traps located in this map. I have a feeling you're just mad enough to brave it. Do as you like, but don't get yourself killed. You'll have to be careful in this one. Something seems to be lurking underground. We lost 2 soldiers to claws that ripped them out of sight in an instant. The map ahead appears to be infested with groups of corrupted monsters. I recommend caution. But the area would certainly be safer if you managed to clear them out. We've clashed more than a few times with invaders from beyond the Atlas, but this map has an uncommon concentration of bloodthirsty creatures. I suspect they're up to something, and I suggest you put an end to them before they can summon anything worse. By all reports, this area contains at least one powerful beast frozen in some sort of crystal. Personally, I just leave it trapped. But it's up to you. General Atlas threats we've learned to handle. But there's a particularly lethal beast in this map that has already slain a dozen of our men. Go do what you do. With prejudice. Those bloody blue bastards are trying to gain a foothold on the Atlas. Don't let them. Give them a vengeful kick in the arse. For the Vanguard. Some of my men have spotted an ancient cache in this map. It's a trap, of course, but I've no doubt you can handle it. We're detecting instability in this map, and not the usual kind. It's reading like a breach in the very fabric of reality. I don't know how violence can solve such a problem, but I'm sure you'll find a way. This one's not your usual romp, Godslayer. This map leads to a raw memory, a battle against a guardian of the being known as the Elder. This happened long ago, but somehow memories can remain real in the Atlas, and lethal. Be careful. This map contains a strange monolith we sighted from afar. As with everything else in the Atlas, it's probably a trap, but I have no doubt you'll purposely charge right in. Good luck. There's an odd sort of garden in this map. Can't make heads or tails of the reports. Be wary. You'll be working with Sister Cassia on this one. The area's been completely taken over by a blighted fungus. If you defend her pump well enough, she might even give you a little credit for helping her. Sister Cassia has requested assistance in this map. She set up her pump to work against a blighted fungus infection, and she needs someone skilled with violence to hold back the reaction when she begins her operation. Have fun with that one, Godslayer. I know this sounds mad, but a sinister voice whispered in my ear not long ago, requesting you pay this area a visit. I wasn't certain whether I should mention this mission, but it won't be the first trap you purposely sprung. Stay wary. Tane is already in the region doing research. He mentioned needing some aid of the violent variety, and I knew just who to send his way. Try not to have too much fun. A ghastly influence lingers in this map, germinating unknown dangers. Stay on high alert. Fading echoes of power still resonate in this map. They're old, but not ancient, and vaguely remind me of someone I used to work with. It's very odd, and likely dangerous. Keep on your toes. The Kalgurans have been working in this region, and I think they're ready for your expertise. Go see if you can't unearth something interesting. My men encountered the Trial Master in this map. If you want to take him up on his challenge, he's waiting. I'm certainly not going to do it. There's an odd series of altars in this map. We've given the area a wide berth. But I've no doubt you'll charge in and touch things. Just keep your wits about you. One of my men followed a never-do-well recently. I believe there's a cache of stolen goods in this map. The criminals must have their own map device technology, but at least they're only using it for illicit exchanges. The cache is up for grabs, if you can find it. From what we can tell, there's a raw memory floating around in this map, but we can't identify it from afar. I suggest you take a look, if you're inclined. Oh, boy. There's never been so obvious a trap than this innocent-looking map. There are no monsters, and we've spotted countless massive strongboxes. None of my men are going to set foot in there. So I leave it to you to explore. I know the Atlas can retain the impressions of powerful memories, but it still disturbs me to encounter one of my own. This map leads to a raw memory, a battle against an Elder Slayer. You might even see my brother Baron, but it's not truly him. Just an echo. So don't hold back on my account. Your operations are too important to be done in public. Let's move this to your hideout. We've managed to build another map device with salvaged parts. Setting it up in your hideout seems like a good idea. It'll better allow you to eat, sleep, and breathe Atlas exploration. That's the only way we're going to survive this. Give it everything you've got, Godslayer. After all that, the Maven turns out to be a young eldritch entity. It's no wonder she needs you to fight as her champion. It's going to take everything our absurd coalition's got to survive this. A bunch of half-trained volunteers, an exile, and a psychopathic hatchling standing together against cosmic abominations. I need a drink.